بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Respected brothers and sisters, young friends, this universe that we are living in is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every particle, every small and big creature in this entire universe and beyond, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the heavens that are greater in size and might and power than the creatures that we are able to see on the face of this earth. And with all its animals and humans and jinns, the sky with the birds, the different type of birds that are flying in the sky, or the different type of fishes that live in the oceans. All of these are the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He created each and every single one of them. And so since Allah created this universe, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a say as to what happens in this universe. He created everything, He maintains everything, and only His decision is executed. When you make something yourself, you create something, you become the owner, and so you have a right to sell it, you have the right to do whatever you wish with it. And if somebody else tries to take control, you say, what? No, that's mine, I made that, it belongs to me. And so وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this entire universe. Everything that we see has been created by Allah. It is maintained by Allah, and it is controlled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what has happened to us as humans, because we do not see Allah, we do not perceive Allah with our sight or our hearing. And so the human being has made an explanation for everything that occurs or any event that takes place in the universe. You eat late at night and then you go to bed, then you wake up in the morning and you've got an upset stomach. You blame what? Eating late at night. If you go to bed too late and you wake up in the morning and you're not feeling very energetic and you feel lethargic or lazy or tired, you blame what? I didn't sleep enough. If there is famine, people blame what? Excess heat, lack of water. We have this event that happened last week in Turkey and Syria, and so people will have a scientific explanation as to why the earthquakes happened. This is the nature of the human being. We try to come up with an explanation for everything, every event that happens, whether it is the usual things that happen in our life, or whether it is extraordinary or supernatural or selected events or things that occur. But the reality is, everything is in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is in control of benefit and harm. And so this, to this day, over the last, almost 2 weeks now, coming up 15 days, there are people who are being taken out alive. Right? Who decided that they should remain alive? Under the rubbles, people have been searching for them for 7-8 days. Not a single drop of water, not a morsel of food. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided for them. And some of them, we hear of babies that have been, very young children, Okay, an adult, you could say, we have, capacity to go without food for some time or without drink for some time. How about that child? While there are people who are dying in the comforts of their home. They're comfortable beds, nice and warm, cozy, right? They had a good dinner, hearty meal, and everything is, outwardly everything seems okay, everything seems fine, but these people have not woken up the next day. And so life and death is in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Benefit and harm is in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what it means when we say La ilaha illallah, that there is none worthy of worship except Allah. Why do we worship Allah? Why is He the only one that is worthy of worship? Because He is the only one that created. Allah Azza wa Jal makes a challenge. He says, يا أيها الناس ضرب مثل فاستمعوا له. In Surah Al-Hajj, He makes a challenge. إن الذين تدعون من دون الله لن يخلقوا ذبابا ولو اجتمعوا له. Those that you worship other than God cannot even create a fly, even if they put all of their abilities together. And so we are advancing in science and what have you. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's challenge still stands. He says, create a fly. Never mind creating the fly. He says, وَإِن يَسْلُبْهُمُ الذُّبَابُ شَيْئًا لَا يَسْتَنْقِذُوهُ مِنْهُ. That if that fly was to come and take something, if a fly was to come and take something of you, you cannot retrieve that back. You can't. There is no way of you retrieving back what a fly has taken away from you. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is, important for all of us to realize that Quran is a set of lenses through which you see the world. It's a world view. Like the scientist looks at the world through science. Yes? Science. There is an explanation for everything. Right? The professor in mathematics, the calculations everywhere. Whenever they look at something, it's always they're trying to figure out numbers. Certain people are always looking for beauty. People are trying to make money. They're always looking. They got lenses on business, right? Every opportunity to, make a buck. And so that's how their mind operates. The Muslim, the believer, uses the lens of the Quran, that we see the world through Quran. Because how you perceive is extremely important. You can have two people witnessing the exact same event, the exact same thing, but they will come out with different outcomes in terms of belief, in terms of understanding the situation. Why has it happened? Why has it occurred? What lessons to take from it? Someone will, looking at what has taken place in Turkey, despite them saying that these buildings were, what are they called? Earthquake proof. So somebody, looking at that from a very materialistic point of view, they're just going to think about what do we do to ensure that this does not happen in the future, which is fine, good. But the believer looks through another lens. Why has it occurred? Why did it happen? What is the cause? What is the cause? And there can be a number of causes. We spoke about some of them last week. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for example, in the Quran, He says, وَمَا نُرْسِلُ بِالْآيَاتِ إِلَّا تَخْوِيفًا. We send signs as a way of warning and putting fear in people's hearts. Because the person who experienced that, they're not going to live the same life after. No matter, if they recover and maybe they get, shelter and food and what have you, and they get wealthy and their life actually becomes better from a materialistic point of view, it becomes better in the future than what it was in the past. But that experience will never go away. The feeling, those moments when a person sees death and life coming to an end, that is an experience that you cannot take away from a human being. It stays planted in their mind, and it gives life a different type of value, because they realize that I could have died. Anybody who has an accident or close to death experience or near death experience, it changes the way they feel about life. So what we were saying is that the believer looks at things through the lens of the Quran. And so what Quran tells us, that everything is in the order, command of Allah and the ability of Allah. And it tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to us that I have done you a great favor, that these things, these events only occur every now and then, and they do not happen continuously and all the time. Imagine if every time somebody did something wrong, a community, a nation, a country did something wrong, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused an earthquake. Imagine if every time somebody, a country, a people, a group of people did something wrong and committed sins openly and transgressed the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah sends strong winds or heavy rains. This is why Allah says in the Quran that if Allah willed and if Allah punished the human being in this world because of their sins, not a living being would remain on the face of this earth. Everything would be destroyed, because we commit a lot of sins. But why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not punishing through this? This is not a punishment, although it may be a punishment for certain individuals. Certain individuals, it is a punishment for them. But in general, it is what? It is a reminder. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَضَرَّعُونَ, that we inflict them with hardship and difficult times so that they may return. They may return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They may realize that actually this life that I'm living and too busy enjoying is very short, and things can change overnight. People who are homeowners and have become and business owners and extremely wealthy have become what? Homeless. They are sleeping in tents. They have nothing left. Everything has been taken away from them. And so what good is it to spend a lifetime working for something that can be destroyed in a moment? Rather, I should be spending my lifetime preparing the abode of the afterlife, the home of the afterlife, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us that it is eternal. And whatever you're given, it's never taken away from you. And it is always on the increase. It never decreases. And so we said that Quran tells us these events occur in order to take lessons from them. And to warn people. Allah is displaying His ability and His power to warn those who have become heedless, those who have forgotten about Allah. And we all have forgotten about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we are in seclusion, we are sinning, right? With our friends and, or individually on our own. We forget that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ability to open up the earth and cause the earth to swallow us. We forget that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ability to take away the mind that we are utilizing to sin, or the eyes that we are utilizing to sin, or the ears that we are utilizing to sin, or the tongue and the ability to speak, or the ability to grasp, or the ability to walk. All of these are given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are gifts. And so those who have not lived and experienced are supposed to be thankful and grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what happened to Qarun. Qarun was a wealthy person. in the time of Musa, extremely wealthy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he was so wealthy that just to carry the keys to his treasures, to the safes, you needed a group of people carrying the keys. So imagine how big these treasures are and how wealthy this person is. And so one day he came out, showing off, displaying all of that wealth and power. And people, and there's a whole parade, and people along with him, ahead of him, behind him, animals and all of these beautiful things. And so certain people just stood there looking, and they said, what did they say? What is the wording? يا ليت لنا مثل ما أوتي قارون. I wish I was living, I was given as Qarun was given, all of this wealth. You see somebody driving in a Ferrari, or you don't look at the face of the person, you only look at the car. Whenever you see somebody driving in a very nice car, take a moment to look at their face. Most of them are, you think all your life working and this is the outcome. But even then, look at their face. They're only human. They're like you, they look like you. Right? They got 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth. Most of them would be frowning because they got so many things on their mind. Right? And if you look at them long enough, they'll look at you and they're surprised, why is this person looking at me? They're only human. They eat like us, they sleep like us, they go to the loo like us. If they don't shower for 3 days, they smell bad like us. The value of a person is not what they have, what they own. The value of a person is what is in their heart and what are the deeds which they do. What are their actions? Are their actions good actions? Are they helpful to other people? Are they fulfilling their responsibility to Allah? Are they kind to their neighbor? Are they good to their family members, to their parents, to their siblings? Are they bringing benefit to society as a whole? This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala values. Anyway, and so these people, their mouths are watering looking at Qarun. Amazing. And they're saying what? Ya layta lana, we wish we were given the same. Innahu ladhu hazzin azim. He's a lucky person. This word of, he's lucky. There is no luck. There's only what Allah has decided. We said the universe is in the control of Allah. He gives whom He wants, He withholds from whom He wants. There is no luck. There is no chance. Everything is calculated. Some have been given more, others have been given less. Allah is testing those who have been given more. Are they going to be thankful and grateful to Allah and share some of what they have with those who are less fortunate? And He's looking at those who are less fortunate. Are they going to accept that this is the decision of Allah and that this person does not have any greater value because of their wealth? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ وَيْلَكُمْ ثَوَابُ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ لِمَنْ آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَلَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الصَّابِرُونَ. The people of knowledge, the people of understanding, those who look, like we said, with the lens of, obviously there was no Quran there, but there was Torah, revelation from Allah. Those who look at the world from the lens of what? Revelation. They said what? وَيْلَكُمْ, woe to you. ثَوَابُ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ. The reward of Allah in the afterlife is far better than what He has been given in this life. Why? Because it's temporary. It will come to an end. Now they did not know what was going to happen. They just said it. What Allah has prepared in the afterlife is far better and greater and more beautiful and more enjoyable than what you are seeing. خَيْرٌ لِمَنْ آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا. It is prepared for those who believe and do good deeds. وَلَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الصَّابِرُونَ. And only the people who is deserving of the bounties and the blessings of Jannah, of life without death, beauty that does not fade, power that does not decrease, health that does not go away, wealth that does not decrease with spending. Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describe, Rasulullah describes paradise, brick of gold, brick of silver? It's not something that you're spending that is going to decrease. The pebbles are what? Precious stones of Jannah. Allah says, فَخَسَفْنَا بِهِ وَبِدَارِهِ الْأَرْضِ. Allah caused what? The earth to swallow him and all of his wealth. Everything. was taken by the earth, swallowed. فما كان, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he was walking around with this large army of people and this might. فما كان له من فئة ينصرونه من دون الله. There was no one to help him when the decision of Allah came. Just like the people who have died and were wrongdoers, whether in Turkey, whether in wars, whether in whatever it is, no one can help. No one can protect you from the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then وَأَصْبَحَ الَّذِينَ تَمَنَّوْا مَكَانَهُ بِالْأَمْسِ. The people who the previous day were what? Watering at their mouth, and they were saying, I wish I was driving the Ferrari, and I wish I had the great mansion, and I wish, and so on and so forth. أصبح الذين تمنوا مكانه بالأمس يقولون وي كأن الله يبسط الرزق لمن يشاء من عباده ويقدر. Allah subhanahu. Now they have understood. Why? Because now they are also looking with what? The lens of revelation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens provision. He gives more to whom He wants, and He withholds and restricts from whom He wants. لولا أمن الله علينا لخسف بنا. If it weren't for the ihsan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is ihsan? Ihsan?
Excellence.
No. I'm looking for another word. If it wasn't the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if it wasn't لولا أمن الله علينا لخسف بنا. In another riwayah لخسف بنا. If it wasn't the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we could have been swallowed up by the earth just like Qarun was. And so those who stay behind after the punishment of Allah strikes, or such events strike, are supposed to do what? To be thankful for safety, to be thankful for life, to be thankful for opportunity to make a change in their life. And so, if we go away with one thing today, elders, young ones, men, women, try to understand the events that happen in the world through the lens of Quran. Whenever something happens to me or happens anywhere in the world, I should go and understand what does Allah say, because He is the creator and He is the controller of situations. He did not create the world and just put it in an orbit and say, oh well, you just operate as you wish. No. Everything is in the control, every movement is in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing happens without His decision, without His ability. And so whom should I try to understand? Whose explanation should I try? Not the scientist, although that is a valid explanation. But he didn't create. He has no hand. He's only just putting numbers together and coming up with theories. These are possibilities for what has happened, the event that has happened. But I should look at what Allah says. And we said what Allah says is, number one, it's either a punishment for those who are doing wrong. Number two, it is a warning. And وَيَتَّخِذَ مِنْكُمْ شُهَدَاء. And it is a blessing for those that have been selected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as martyrs. And so Quran is not a book that we read that only tells us this is halal, this is haram. Do this, don't do this. Only 500 verses. Quran is 6,000 odd verses. Only 500 verses tell you, do this, don't do that. The remaining is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving us explanations and making us understand the reality of this world and the reality of the afterlife. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us understanding.